All right, welcome back to the Constitutionals podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. If you're listening to the audio, if you're watching the video, and if you're doing both, I promise you have to be doing both in order for this to continue to work. We just have a new theme song. Congratulations. Welcome to 2024. 19 days in. I meant to record this last week, but time slipped away from me. Time keeps on slipping into the future. Name the movie. I know the song is older than the movie, or at least as old as the movie. Space Jam. And there's that other song. No, I won't sing. Yes, I had to. I didn't have to make a new theme song, but I did. I made a new theme song for News Time, and it took me it took me so long to make these. At first, I didn't know if I could on GarageBand because nothing was happening. Like it wasn't. I couldn't figure out how to get the instruments to work, and then I said, okay, I want to do live loops, and that's what those were, live loops. I dug through so many, and then eventually I realized, I could, if you can't afford Pro Tools, and if you don't need a Pro Tools, most people I don't think need Pro Tools, but if you can't afford Pro Tools and you want to make music, I think the next best thing is probably going to be GarageBand. Besides learning how to, do something. But GarageBand is great, and I can't believe people have had this on their Macs, iPads, and iPhones for years. And nobody, like if I had an iPhone, I'd be making loops all the time. I'd be a friggin' DJ. But here we are. So I made a new theme song. I actually made a new Going the Break song too. That's cold from the theme song as well. And the reason I did it was because I just kept getting content strikes on YouTube, and it's annoying. So here we go. Let's get on with this. I have last week's stories as well as this week's stories. The Emmys were this week, and they were the most diverse ceremonies ever. This comes from Clayton Davis over at Variety. Also, if I sound a little off, it is because I'm going to a wedding for the next 2 days, and I have to get Maverick out. The dog. And he's still a puppy. In fact, when I came home from the gym, he was barking. He was like whining and barking. He also took a dump in his crate on Tuesday. And he just needs energy, but people are afraid of him because he's a pit bull. So I have to walk him for a very long time or take him to a paid dog park or a bigger dog park versus the one that's inside my apartment complex. The one I pay for, the one that my apartment costs, over $2,500, and people with their friggin' doodles and golden retrievers, they're like, oh, he plays too hard. Any hoosers. So I did not have a lot of water today because I was walking with him. And then as soon as I got back, I had to get ready I had to eat lunch. I ate lunch at 3:00. It is 4. But I had to go to a press junket. And that took an hour of my life. The interviews are great. Just the waiting part sucks. Also, I said there's a point last year. I won't say which interview it was, which interview junket it was. So I did not do a lot of junkets last year. You can probably pick this out. But there was a point where I was like, I'm not doing junkets anymore. I'm too big. I'm too big for this. It's annoying, and I had to wait and all this stuff, and I only get 5 minutes. It's annoying. And then I just I recant. Anyway, it was the most diverse Emmys. We had Emmys go through to people like Quentin Brunson for making a show where everybody looks at the camera after delivering every joke. And then we also had people like Niecy Nash-Betts and Ali Wong win awards. Beef took home a crap ton of awards, which is fantastic. Io Adibri and Ali Wong both set records that night. Historical records, I guess, whatever. She's Io Adibri is the third black woman to take home the trophy. Jackée Harry took one for 227 in 1987. Interesting. But then the nominees, of course, Jessica Williams, Janelle James, who I interviewed, Sheryl Lee Ralph. I mean, that's the most black women ever nominated in a category. And then there's Ali Wong and Stephen Yun and Beef in of itself. I believe Ali Wong might have been the first. No. Excuse me. This is the first time, Clayton writes, or Davis writes, that two Asian performers from any major award ceremony won leading acting prizes on the same night. Wow. So let's keep it up. Oh, and then there was GLAAD was awarded the TV Academy's Governor's Award, a historic moment for the LGBTQ community. Elton John also became a member of the EGOT. Trevor Noah won for Daily Show. And I mean, it's amazing to see how years gone by, it's always been, shows like The White Lotus and it's cast like The White Lotus. In fact, when Jennifer Coolidge got up there to give a speech, I got up and went to go brush my teeth. That's not a joke. I was like, all right, this is not my bag. And I'll never watch Black Lotus or White Lotus. I watch Black Lotus. I'll watch Yellow Lotus. That sounds kind of racist. I'll watch Beige Lotus. I won't watch White Lotus. No interest. Pedro Pascal did not win, but he was the first Latino to score 3 noms in the same year. America Ferrera, Jarrell Jerome, Albert Paulson, Jimmy Smits, Edward James Olmos, Ricardo Montalban, Rita Moreno. Those are the people he joins for even being. Well, those are the 7 Latinos who have won acting Emmys across all categories. But I mean, can we even say that? That's like probably the entire list of Latino people who have been nominated. But it's great to see these numbers change over these past couple of years. Unfortunately, here's an article from this week. I'm moving things around in my schedule, but I know it was right here. This comes from Variety, written by Brent Lang. Major studios pledges to hire more female filmmakers, and people of color were performative, a study finds. Just because we had movies like Barbie, and we had Cocaine Bear, which was directed by Elizabeth Banks, which is, I think, a great movie. It's always great to watch a comedy like Cocaine Bear in the theater alone. I also saw. I think I've been thinking about this for the past couple of weeks because it is, in retrospect, kind of a scary move. If I had any sense of myself. But I saw the latest Scream movie. I think it was Scream 7, because 4 is the reboot. 5, 6. It was Scream 6. So I saw Scream 6 in theaters by myself. I think I told that story about when I did. But it was the last day I was going to be in theaters, and it was like a 11 a.m. showing. And I went in there, and I had a specialty popcorn that I got for free. And then I had my lunch with me because I biked up there. And I could have, someone could have just came up and murdered me if I sat right in the middle of the theater and I was the only one in the theater. It was fantastic, but I enjoyed myself. I really like those movies. I don't think, have I seen, Scream is, I think, not flawless, but not perfect, but it's a very good franchise. And I can't say any of the movies are not good, unlike Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween or something along those lines. Okay, let's get back. This comes from USC Annenberg's Inclusion Initiative, which says that there were no real steps towards fostering the change. This is the second report in a couple of days, in the same amount of days, rather, from USC, the Annenberg's Inclusion Initiative, talking about how Barbie was both the year's most successful film and the highest grossing movie ever directed by a woman. But they still give all of their highest profile gigs to male directors. Let's also say they give it to white male directors. The other study was conducted by the Center for the Study of Women in Television and Film at San Diego State University. Excuse me. I said the second study also came from USC, but it did not. The report from USC found that a total of 116 directors were attached to the 100 top grossing domestic films in 2023, but just 14 of them, or 12.1%, were women. That's a slight improvement, 9% from the 9% of the top grossing films that were directed by women in 2022. But the report argues that the percentage of female filmmakers on top movies has not changed notably since 2018, when it was 4.5%. Now we're getting to the nitty gritty with the real numbers that I really care about. Only 4 women of color, 3.4%, helmed one of the 100 top film movies. 3 of those women were Asian. The director for Joyride, Adele Lim, Celine Song's Past Lives, and Fawn Vesterhoven, Vera Sunthorn for Wish, who I did email to interview. And I sent the wrong, I was emailing a lot of people that day, and I sent the wrong name. The other woman that's a very true story. The other woman of color to direct a top movie was Nia DaCosta, who's black, and she directed The Marvels. These numbers are unchanged for the women of color. I wonder, what is it going to take for these studios to get behind a woman of color? I mean, first studios boards have to, want to hire people of color, women of color in bigger roles. When Disney has black women execs leave their ranks, and in Spain, I'm not going to say that. It's not. It could be construed as a racial term, but when it has black women leave, rapidly one after another a couple of years ago, and never want to refile those ranks or even like want to get those people back in those positions, then what sense does it make? Will they they're never going to reach out and try to make things right later on in the run? I listen to I listen to a couple of comedy podcasts, and I only pay for 2. And even still, as much as they try to diversify and as much as they try to be progressive and accepting of other people, I found that they too lack a sort of there's bias. There's bias in everything we do. And yes, you can say, oh, I'm bringing my friends in. I can talk to my friends on this podcast all the time. But at some point, when if you're going to be saying like Trump and his people and people like that don't want to, they're racist and they don't want to work with people of color. They don't support this, and I do. Because I'm a Democratic white man, let's say it, white man, this is a comedy podcast, white man, then, that you're still part of the problem when you are bringing in, your friend for the, out of twice a year, versus you actually going out and saying, hey, this person is great, let me go talk to them. And that extends into film, and that's into the corporate world too. People hire, people date who they're comfortable with. Look at Taylor Swift. She's never the closest she'll ever come to. I don't know if I ever said this on this podcast, but it's something an observation I've made in my head when she started dating Travis Kelce. But the closest she'll ever come to dating a person of color is dating Travis Kelce, and that guy's dated black women for a long time. You have to put in the effort. You have to put in the effort when it comes to hiring people. Universal Pictures hired 4 female directors. Lionsgate and Disney hired 3 and 2, respectively. Across the last 17 years, a total of 27 women, 9.2%, have been hired by Universal Pictures to direct major theatrical releases. Warner Brothers is at 6.6, Sony Pictures Entertainment at 6.3, and Walt Disney's at 6.1. Paramount is at 1.6. That's why they're struggling. That's why they're trying to sell to Warner. Or Skydance, whoever the highest bidder is. 26 directors, 22.4% of the top 100 grossing movies 2023 were from underrepresented racial and ethnic groups. 14 were Asian. 8 were black. 2 are Latino. 2 are multiracial / multi-ethnic. When are we going to see these numbers improve? At some point, they're going to have to, because nobody's going to want to watch. Well, I mean, I don't know. I can't even say that. Because people love Saltburn, and that has no people of color in it. But then again, we get directors who can put out like Greta Gerwig. I don't like her, but she was forced to hire people of color for Barbie. You couldn't have a trans Barbie. Come on, you gotta have a black Barbie. You gotta hire people. Gotta have Simu Liu as Ken. My thing, look, I just don't think that she would have hired those people. People of color, people of different genders, people of differently abled people, if she didn't have to. I really do think that. Just look at her movies. Anyway, but then I just watched The Holdovers, and there are, even though it's set in 1970, take a lesson from this. Every other director who does this, who does the opposite of this, it still has two people of color in it, and one of them is going to win big for this. Hopefully, we'll see. I don't want to jinx it. I'm not going to win. Well, they're already counted. Divine Randolph Joy. I hope she wins. Okay, let's continue off these numbers things, and the number specs. And let's go to Max Goldbart over at Deadline. Number of U.S. scripted TV season orders has nearly halved since 2019, and we can see it. Shows are being canceled left and right because streaming obviously is, at one point the companies were spending buku dollars on streaming and even broadcasting cable, but now it's all being pared down because it costs money to do all this. This research comes from Ampere Analysis, which revealed that Hollywood displacement as international orders outpace the U.S. This comes from 418 shows that were ordered last year in the United States, down from 722 in 2019, which is mainly put down to the strikes, but it said is unlikely to rise in 2024. Where the year prior there were 683 shows, and now we're down at 481, 482, and 418, whatever. But we knew this was going to happen, and now that all of these companies are trying to save money by also paying their execs way too much, which is the first episode of News Time. It's back. I have to edit it, but it's back because I just recorded two. It's Hollywood seeing this effect, across the board. People are getting let go left and right, and it's an unfortunate case of what's happening with. I think mostly due to streaming. I do want to put a little bit of blame on the strikes that kind of put into retrospective what the dollar really means for these companies, especially with Warner Brothers. Zaslav came out and said we saved $500 million by not having to pay writers, and now I think that even though he can recant on that, I do think that there's a part of those companies, of all companies, not just Warner Brothers and not just Zaslav, but of all these execs and all these companies going, hey, yeah, we don't have to put money into this. If you look at the new, and I'll record Late Night Lately at some point, but if you look at After Midnight, the sequel to At Midnight, and the new show that replaces Late Late Show, as we're following the Late Show. There's no money in that show. That is a single stage, a single screen, and there was no money in the original show either, but I can really feel it with this one. That's not to condemn that show, but I can just feel that After Midnight has $0. And yes, it's a late night show, but you can't really compare that to something like Young Sheldon or something. Again, I don't know why that came out of my mouth, but this is exactly the kind of thing that if you pay attention to, you can definitely see. And then we're also seeing in terms of, I got something in terms of orders of shows, broadcast, cable, and streaming, it's all just it's also going to go to extend to not what am I looking for? Not buying, purchasing, having shows on their platforms that they don't need to. Again, that's Warner Brothers, that's Paramount, taking off shows off of Max or Paramount Plus. All right. Speaking of streaming, this comes from Wall Street Journal, written by Ann Steele. What in the world is happening with the profits at Spotify? They're the biggest streaming platform. They have 600 million users. 30% market share is twice that. They're adding subscribers every month. Not a lot of people are canceling. Where the heck is their money? It lost $1 billion in that push to podcasting, mostly because podcasting's not lucrative, and it never has been. It's only lucrative for the people who make it, for the actual, and I hate to say this word, creators that make the podcast. Conan made big money on that. The girl from, what's that show called? The one I hate. Alex Cooper, is that her name? Oh God, what is her show called? I know there's Guys We Effed and Date Me or something like that. Anyway, those people are the ones making money. They saw these numbers, like truly these companies, Spotify and Luminary. I think is Luminary one. I go, but they see these numbers and they go, oh, I think that we can make even more. We can do it even better, but you can't because there's a stopgap in between that. There's a big space that nobody can hit except for the people who directly make the things. That's why you have shows going directly to Patreon, because there's no middleman there. You've got people like me. You got audiences paying the creators, Jesus Christ, the hosts directly, because that is what we want. We don't want the intermediary. We don't want the big company looming over and go. And that's not to say like that there aren't big companies, allowing other shows to go to Patreon, but the big company, putting forward ads inside of it. Inside of shows, I would rather just have an ad for underpants, or an ad for a toothbrush. Does Quip still do? Is Quip A still in operation? And B, do they still do ads? I was thinking about that the other day. It's a good toothbrush. It's not that strong though. I like my Oral-B. Still have my Quip. I also lost a Quip when I went to Vancouver. The only time I travel out of the country, I lose a Quip. I'm gonna buy another one. All right. So their market cap is $40 billion, and it's competing with Apple, Amazon, Google, and other podcasters. They had to lay off 2,300 employees in 3 rounds of cuts last year just to find some type of profits. The most recent claimed 17% of its remaining workforce. Daniel Ek, who's the CEO, announced the latest round of cuts after reporting strong user growth in the third quarter and Spotify's first quarterly profit since the first 3 months of 2022. In fact, and I know I've reported this on News Time, or at least earlier episodes of Constitutionals, that Spotify is one of the only unicorns to actually make money, to be in the green. But where are its profits? And I think the profits are coming from... where are the profits? That for podcasting, that's the thing. But I think the way it makes money are from retaining users and getting new users, and also from the music royalties that it doesn't have to pay out. Is the audio? I don't think audiobooks going to pay off for them. I don't think anything besides music is going to pay off for them, and they have to understand that. And that's why. And I think that's what they're getting at now, is because Joe Rogan can take his podcast anywhere, and he can still put out video and he still can put out shows, but having something be exclusive to an app that is just already so bloated down. I don't listen to Joe Rogan. I don't listen to any of that shit. But that's like their baby, just having things like that can't be. You're paying for the name, and you're hoping that they can drive people to the app. You can have Joe Rogan talk, and then that person who was on Apple Music is going to go, or on YouTube Music, or on Deezer. Why would you downgrade? But you could, or Qbuzz or Tidal, and they can go, well, if I can get everything over here, then I will. And that's what they thought was going to happen, but that's not something that's happening. All right, this next one comes from Hollywood Reporter. Alex Weprin wrote it. Amazon's about to eat the TV universe. In 10 days, Amazon Prime Video will make an ad tier, and it'll be default for users who don't opt in to pay the $3. Now, $3 is negligible for some people, especially if you just leave things on. But is it something that's going to help them? And yes, right now, the paid television tier, the ad-supported television tier is very lucrative. It's something that is right now at this point in time pulling in a lot of dough because people don't want to have too many subscriptions. They don't want to pay $500 a month for subscriptions, and yeah, I understand. I totally get it. Amazon has always been coy about how many Prime subscribers it has. It's somewhere around the 200 million range. But no one disputes that its reach is almost unrivaled. Consumer intelligence partners, research partners, estimates there are about 168 million Prime subs in the U.S. alone as of 2023. And if just half of those subs watch Prime Video content, it would be comparable to Netflix's penetration of the U.S. 77 million and significantly more subs than the likes of Hulu, Peacock, and Paramount. So think of all the people. Like if you watch Reacher, and let's say 20 million people watch Reacher, that would instantly make that show like the top show, probably in the U.S. Netflix has an ad tier. YouTube has ads if you don't pay for premium. Disney Plus has an ad tier. And by having an ad tier, Prime is going to be competitive with Netflix, which is his prime target. Prime. The gauge certainly suggests that if Hulu has just shy of 50 million subscribers, as Disney has reported, then Amazon is at least in the same ballpark in terms of Prime subs that watch video content. Most Netflix users, however, are not subscribing to the ad tier. They said they have about 15 million users in the ad tier, active users in the ad tier on Netflix. While Hulu has subscribers, while some Hulu subscribers also opt out of ads. How many? I wonder how many people will subscribe to Hulu with ads. I wonder how that is for Disney. So what's the play here? People, I don't, Amazon is they'll have two versions of what they call fast streaming, or they'll have two versions of ad supported streaming. One is the fast streamer, which is Freevee, which you can already get on Amazon or get separately, which is always going to have ads. And then there's the Prime Video stuff with ads. And both have their own exclusive shows and syndicated shows and acquired shows. What will happen to Freevee? I think it's good for it not to be consolidated and for everything just to be treated as one. Everything should be what it is. Everything should be what it is. Because Pluto TV, as what's mentioned in this piece, helps drive Paramount Plus, and Pluto TV is just such a different product. But there's no differentiating factor between Freevee and Prime Video, except for Freevee is free. But it has its own shows. There's a Bosch spinoff on there, and I believe a show from the guy Grant Daniels. I have the internet in front of me, but I can look it up. From the guy who created My Name is Earl and Baby Virginia. Jesus. All right, My Name is Earl. Man, I love that show. I wish they would get one more season. Also, I had a huge crush on Nadine Velazquez and Jamie Presley, definitely. Both of them. Greg Garcia, that's his name. Raising Hope. The baby's name was Virginia, right? Yeah. Well, no, nope. Martha Plimpton's character was Virginia. Well, there we go. And then there's Sprung. Sprung was the show that's on Freevee. And it says 2022 to present, so I assume it's still going on. Also starring Martha Plimpton and Garrett Dillahunt. And that guy's in everything. I don't know where this is going to go after this. There's really no ending here, but there we go. And finally, one more story about streaming. This is the streaming episode. Jessica Tunkel wrote this for the Wall Street Journal. Netflix considers ways to make money from video games and possible pivot. All right. So Netflix, if you don't know, is has had gaming ambitions for the past couple of years. They bought the studio that created Oxenfree. I don't know the name of the studio, but Oxenfree is a point and click game, adventure game that's really coming of age, and I think it's good. I own it. Here's the thing: I own it 3 times over. I think I own it on Switch, I own it on Steam, and I own it on Xbox. I have never played more than 20 minutes on any of those platforms, and that's a fact. But you know, it's a great game for what it is. All the reviews say it. And then there's Oxenfree 2, which Netflix, which was I think the first game under Netflix games that they released. But they also purchased other. Let me see. They also purchased other games as well. They purchased things like World of Goo, which is a very popular mobile game. Unfortunately, it was ruined by Netflix. And then there's also Sonic Prime Dash, which I'm playing. They bought the company that makes Dead Cells, and what's interesting is they have Netflix editions. If you're watching the video, you can see I'm holding my phone up. They have Netflix editions of games like GTA Vice City. They also have special games that are created just for mobile, like Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon, and you'll if you use the Netflix app on mobile, you'll see that they are shoving it in your face. First of all, in the game section, which is situated right between their home and the home button and the new and hot TikTok section, or wherever the heck that's called. And I'm I'm not somebody who plays mobile games, but I do think it is. There's pros and cons to this, and I would say there's right now mostly cons. Which is not to say that this doesn't deserve to exist. And yeah, Netflix has has its rights to expand outside of television, but man, this is not the way to do it. There are some games on here that sure I'm glad they exist in their forms, like Sonic Prime Dash, which is based on the Sonic Prime show, and I'll say that's it for now. But there's a thing about owning games that is now a little bit more pertinent to this world where we have Game Pass and PlayStation Plus and Nintendo Switch Online, where we don't just own games, and there needs to be some type of object permanence or game permanence when it comes to all of this. And Netflix has brought a lot of great games that are great on console or great on PC, or that now, or they just purchased outright, and just slap the Netflix name on there, like Dead Cells. And Dead Cells is a game you can buy on iOS and on Android, besides buying it on PC and Mac and consoles for real money, versus you get it for free. You get all that, the DLC, you get the entire game for free if you subscribe to Netflix, which is, that's great, because if you're somebody who pays $23 for the 4K thing, and you want something more than just being able to watch things in 4K and have 5, I think you get 5 account not logins, but users. They should also, if you pay $23 per month, they should stop sending me the full screen ad of, hey, do you want to add more people to your thing? Because if you do, then it's going to cost $8 for those extra ones, which is ridiculous. I'm paying the most. Let me be able to share my password. A, I won't do that, but B, let me be able to. And I mean, yeah. So as I was saying, they've been able to, with this money, be able to bring games like GTA 3, San Andreas, and Vice City better ports than the original ones that were brought by Rockstar that were said to be upgrades, and these are actual upgrades. Then there's the TMNT Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which is a great game, throwback arcade game that's on consoles and PC. We've got Kentucky Route Zero, Death's Door, Farming Simulator 23, Transformers Forged to Fight. I think that is just a game that they created. But these are all the things that I was interested in. They're on my list technically. But at what cost? There's Netflix expanding into games has been a strategy that they want to have people, but at some point it's gonna cost a little bit more. It's gonna be, instead of costing an arm, it's gonna be an arm and a leg. Now, how are they gonna make more money? They've resisted putting ads in games. Hey, maybe that's what's happening next. Some ideas that have been discussed include in-app purchases, charging for more sophisticated games it is developing, or giving subscribers to its newer ads-supported tier access to games with ads in them. Would that work? Would that be something that can drive profits? People already play games on their phones with ads. People watch TikToks with ads. There's no way to get around that stuff. So would that be an encouragement for people to jump up when it comes to subscriptions, or a way to keep them to keep people who aren't interested and spending the $15 for the HD without ads, or I think it might be 16, but for spending that much money without ads and to have games, whatever. The number of users downloading Netflix games is growing, but remains small. As of October, fewer than 1% of Netflix's global subscribers were playing its games daily, Apptopia estimates. And that, just reading that out loud brings together another concern. What happens when they eventually give up on this? They gave up on DVDs, but if this doesn't drive profits for them, are they going to close the Oxenfree studio? Are they going to put those developers out of work? Are they going to put other developers out of work? Are we going to lose access to better versions of GTA games that are finally on mobile? GTA San Andreas, their version, drove 11% of Netflix's game downloads in 2023, according to Sensor Tower. Analysts have estimated that Netflix has spent about $1 billion on buying gaming studios and building the business. The company spends about $17 billion a year on its shows and movies. And they have the money to let this all go and let this all happen. It's kind of like when Apple, when we found out that Apple had like $100 billion in cash or something like that, and they dedicated $1 billion to TV shows and movies. I'll say it paid off for them. They had that movie about the deaf people that won an Oscar. They've had a lot of great shows and movies. Monarch's good. What's the one? Family Switch? Is that the newest one? That was all right. Watched it on a Friday night, and man, what a movie! Not saying it's. I had a nice time. Just like Lift. Speaking of Netflix, just like Lift. During that entire movie, Kevin Hart did not tell one joke, and I'm not exaggerating. Kevin Hart truly, that entire film, did not say one joke. He was not funny. He was the most serious he's ever been, and I can't believe it. Overall, Netflix games were downloaded 81.2 million times globally last year, which is up from 28.7 in 2022. That's from Sensor Tower. And AAA games cost money to make. We've got the Capcom brought Resident Evil, I believe the latest one, the remake for Resident Evil 4, and I believe Resident Evil 7 are the two that are on iOS right now. I don't know if they're on Android, but I know they're on iOS. And those are giant AAA games. The next logical step after putting ads in games would be for them to bring in an actual, like, real AAA game. Whether that's acquiring one from a studio or whether that's making one themselves, it's going to cost a crap ton of money. Spider-Man 2 came out. And that costs a lot of money. Halo Infinite costs a lot of money. Let me name a Nintendo one. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. They cost a lot of money. It didn't come out too well. But you know what? I finished it. The end. That's the next logical step for them. And is that going to pay off? Is that going to be something that's lucrative for them in the long run? I can see them putting out something big budget in the next couple of years. But if it whiffs, it's going to whiff hard. Hey, listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see me talk to famous people. Like I said, I just did a junket, and I will talk about it when that is ready to come out. You can watch the other ones, watch the other interviews under the interviews on youtube.com/cpluscomedy. You can watch the video version, if you're listening to it, of this show, as well as the other podcasts, Late Night Lately, the late night talk show, the late night show, and LinkedIn Logs, which is the business podcast. That's going to be a tagline for that. Listen, LinkedIn Logs, business podcast. You can watch video version of the shows, youtube.com/cpluscomedy. You can watch everything I've ever done. There's shorts somewhere. I don't know. I have to create an outro to this show because I can't play the entire theme song over and over again. Social media, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook is way too hype. Doesn't make you want to bang your head. Yeah, all that. Chad at C Plus Comedy. Me at Chad Black White. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. I appreciate you.